Hello and welcome to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I'm your host, George Wacker, and today we are talking with Elaine Zelker. Took me a little while to get her on here, but she is a local entrepreneur, renowned headshot photographer, and the author of Zero Limits, Breaking the Boundaries That Hold You Back. Elaine shares her remarkable journey from her background as a nurse to her successful career in photography, writing, and the food industry at Z-Craft, which we're going to talk about as well. She has a passion for empowering others. She provides insights on journaling, building a brand, and much, much more. Don't miss this inspiring conversation with Elaine, and we really appreciate her coming on and allowing us into her studio. Thank you to our sponsors who make this all happen: Wind Creek Event Center, Michael Bernardin with Remax, WXPN, Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub, and the Banco Beverage. Thank you guys, and let's get talking to Elaine. Hello. I only brought one microphone today. So hello and welcome to the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. We're here at the Simon Silk Mill with Elaine Zelker to talk about her new book and a lot of other stuff. But first things first, can we talk about this space that we're in? Yes. If people haven't been to, if you haven't been to the Simon Silk Mill, can you tell some people a little bit about it? I mean, you have your space in here, but there's awesome stores in here and whatnot.
So believe it or not, I mean, we're in my studio right now, my photography studio. I was actually the very first one to move in almost 7 years ago. I think it might be 7 years ago now.
So fast.
I mean, and I have such a great space that originally they used to use the space here for the movies in the mill. And I chose this specific space because you see there's some windows around us. If I open all these windows up, we could have actually watched the movie from inside the space.
That's nice.
So I was the first one to move in. My husband, Zeke, literally his studio was next door. Mm-hmm. And we were like literally the first ones to move in here. And to watch everything build up around us has been amazing. I mean, there's no parking anymore, really, but
I know. I think I got the last spot.
Yeah, exactly.
As I came in here.
But it was when I used to come here. I'd have a client come in for headshots or something. I would ask them to walk out with me at night because there was nothing here. There was not even lights outside, and but to watch every window go in and the attention that they put to the detail for these buildings to keep them revitalized and the look that they have. They did an outstanding job, and to watch it come to life over the last 7 years has been unbelievable. And I have friends that moved in, have come and gone in the Silk Mill, but we're still here. And
it's amazing. If you have another, I had a couple of minutes before I came over, and I walked down the Carl Sterner Arts Trail, and you go over the bridge. Yep. It's just amazing. Like if you need, I would imagine if you need like a minute to clear your head, you can
100%
head out there. So what do you do in this studio?
So
mostly,
first of all, I come here when I don't want to work at home and the dogs aggravate me. My kids are all grown, so they're out of the house. So, so I'll come here. Mainly, I'm shooting like brand photography and headshots. So I do mainly corporate headshots. This space is very nice for headshots. I'll also do workshops here and small classes. Great.
I mean, I wish we could. You know what? I'll try to turn the
will take pictures.
Camera around, but there's like a loft space. Wow.
Yeah. So, and I actually rent to a tattoo makeup artist that does permanent makeup.
Oh, okay.
And then she actually rents the space up top over here with me. And it was a great collaboration. I always saw this space as being like a small incubator for women entrepreneurs as well.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I love doing workshops here. I've done my vision board classes here. I do my empowerment classes here. So awesome. I can move all the equipment and house maybe 30 people here for a class.
It's nice. I love it.
It's bright.
I'm glad that we did this here rather than on Zoom or in my in my office, which is not anywhere near this, which is amazing. We're here to talk about your book.
Okay.
Well, this isn't your first book. We'll talk about that too. Okay. But there are some things I was going through here I didn't know, and we've known each other. Full disclosure.
How long?
I mean, pretty. Like I've known Zeke for over probably 10 years,
15 years,
but I've never really had a chance to sit down and grill you on some stuff. I didn't know you were a nurse.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you get? I mean, from RN to where we're sitting now.
I know.
That's. You probably didn't go into becoming a nurse thinking that you'd be sitting
be a
doing
photographer.
Right. So that's crazy. But let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about Elaine growing up into becoming a nurse.
Okay. So I talk a lot about this in the book because I actually become pretty vulnerable in the book and talk about my personal life growing up in an old-fashioned Italian family and I grew up in Willingboro, New Jersey.
Okay.
So I literally grew up in South Jersey where I would play kick the can and I would double dutch. I would break dance. We'd be out all, hours of the night being, banging bad and stuff like that. But, so I grew up in South Jersey. I wound up going to Rutgers University. Sure. I have a bachelor's in psych and business first.
Okay.
So that's before the nursing degree.
Yeah.
So after I graduated with a psych degree, I wasn't sure if I wanted to go into psychiatric nursing at the time. Mm-hmm. I thought maybe let me do something more broad. So I actually went back to nursing school. My dad was a World War II veteran, and he had a lot of post-traumatic stress. So that's why I kind of wanted the psychology background and the business background, which 100% still helps me today. So a psych and business degree. Then I went to nursing school. And I did everything in nursing. In my nursing degree, I helped run a dermatology practice in Edison, New Jersey. I did pharmaceutical sales, which was awesome, which is like literally learned the art of the sale. I can sell white on rice after the training that I had in pharmaceutical sales. I did other things in nursing like pediatrics, ER, regular staff nursing, and I loved it. But when I was at Rutgers, I actually took a photography class. I took a black and white film photography class on a Minolta, my dad's old camera. But I come from a very old-fashioned family where it's like women couldn't be artists back then. Okay. Like I graduated in 93. I mean, it wasn't like that back then, but still.
But it's still the culture of families.
Absolutely not. Yeah. So yeah, a psych degree didn't really get me any place, but be a nurse. That's like what girls do and stuff like that. And it's not like it was bad, not like I hated doing it. I graduated #1 in my class in nursing school. And I was paying for it at the time, so I made a very,
Which even probably puts more pressure to stay in that industry.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm number one.
Now you're going to hear why did I get out of it, though. Yeah. So I ended my career in hospice nursing. And around 2006 and 2007, I lost both my parents. Okay. And then I got divorced. I have 3 children with my first husband. Mm-hmm. And I realized then that I need to lead the life that I want to lead and do what I love. Life is way too short to just not do what you love. And I loved photography. And it's not like I didn't do it. I had hundreds of thousands of photos from growing up and, with my own children and things like that. Then I met Zeke. He's a crazy filmmaker, entrepreneur, artist, and
encouraging.
Absolutely. Yeah. Became my biggest cheerleader, became the person that was like, you're really talented. Why aren't you doing more with photography?
And you're like, because
I have bills to pay, I have children, and I have insurance, and I have a 401k, and I've got what I call was the golden handcuffs.
Yep.
Right? I mean, I loved what I did. I was very good at what I did.
And that's not even a good you're still in a good situation, It's a good problem, I guess, to have, but it's still a very real one. Yep. You're still maybe not fully self-realized, even though you have all this stuff, and people can look at you and say, "What are you mad about? You have everything, right?"
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but they assume that. Sure. However,
but it's not true.
Let's go back. I mean, I've been literally working since I'm 12 years old. Yeah. I've been working since I'm 12. I used to sell circus tickets for the police athletic league when I was 12, and my dad would take half of my income. So I grew up very, very, very strict. Exactly. Right. And I don't know anything different than to hustle. I really don't. And selling and, making ends meet all the time. But I live in a world where I can come and go as I please. I can book things around my children's schedules. Not that they're all out of the house, they're older. One's left in college, the other 2 have, moved, and one's in DC, one's in Florida, living the best life. And, when I became a photographer, I knew that I had something, and I was really teetering with nursing and photography, but it got to the point where I started saying no to photography clients because I had to go to work. That's when I knew I better take the leap. And by the grace of God, honestly, every month we made it. And it was just a lot of work. Do
you remember, I said right before, we're like, I'll never put you on the spot. Do you remember one of those first jobs that you took and you said yes to instead of nursing? Or just a feeling of it, I guess? Probably
the feeling of it. Yeah. Or when I started saying no to going to nursing, like I have to call out today because I don't want to give up this wedding. And when I first started photography, of which many photographers do, I had a very small studio in downtown Easton on Northampton Street. Then I moved on the 500 block of Northampton Street, and then here. And I did everything in nursing, from babies and families and senior portraits and weddings. Headshots came a little bit later, but that's when everything shifted for me. I didn't want to do it all. And just like with nursing, you kind of specialize in something and you get burned out. And I didn't love doing weddings. I like getting to know people and
And
really
weddings are very, like, you're figuring out, I don't want to speak for you, but when you're at a wedding, you're like figuring out problems 1,000 times.
Full-blown anxiety for 10 hours straight.
Oh man.
And everybody wanted their weddings to look like a Pinterest board. And you could be creative, but you had a very strict time restraints put on top of you.
Right.
You don't get the kiss. I don't want that anxiety in my life anymore. As I said, life is too short. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, I've always had a coach. I've got my own coach, and I started understanding truly what is my passion. What's my purpose? And with the help of my coach, Danelle Delgado, she was awesome. I went out to Colorado and met with her. She helped me come up and coin my own personal mission statement, which is to empower other people, more women, which is like, say, empower other women to use their gifts and talents to rise and soar. So when I figured out what my own personal mission statement was, everything changed for me.
Okay.
Because now everything that I do aligns with my own personal mission, vision, and values. And if it doesn't align with that, I don't do it anymore. And then I knew that I wanted to work more closely with people and empower them. So I actually changed the name of my business. I used to be Elaine Zelker Photography.com.
Okay.
I took off the photography because now that you know a little bit more of my background, I'm so much more than just a photographer.
Right.
And I talk about being an ampersand in the book. Like, I'm an and, I'm not an only. Because you can be many things in your life as long as you don't maybe pigeonhole yourself into something, because in the public, that's all they know you for.
Well, you talk about that too, personal branding.
Correct.
That kind of goes along.
Yeah. So, but I created what people saw, and I did feel pigeonholed to be just this photographer, but I felt I had so much more to offer.
Sure.
Education, the nursing background, my business background. So then I started doing classes here, helping other women empower them and do these like A to Z workshops, hence the book.
Right.
But I started those classes, these workshops 6 or 7 years ago, where I would cover every letter of the alphabet on how to, I think it was called the Easy Method to Branding, the A to Z guide. That's how it originally started. And I would cover every letter of the alphabet, but very broadly, like really simple, like, A, find an accountability partner because it's great to collaborate with someone. And then I would start every letter of the alphabet. And then over the years, I honed in on my craft of photography with headshots. I learned from the very best in the world. And when I find like niches of things, I look for the best. And Peter Hurley was the best photographer for headshots in the world. And I trained with him in New York City. And when I'm all in. I trained with him. I became one of his then mentors that I can help other people learning photography.
How did that come about? Did you just reach out to him? Or is it like
but he had like an intensive class. I would go. I went to New York and paid a lot of money and, to learn from the best, find the best lighting, and then hone in on my own brand. Because then it becomes, am I working for his brand or am I working for my own brand?
Of course.
And then you create your own mission behind what you want to do with people. So when somebody comes to this studio for headshots, it's an experience. It's not just, stand in front of the camera, go like this and say cheese. It's to me, it's so much more than that. We will literally sit on the couch for a good 20 minutes before I even start shooting.
It's interesting to like talk about why are you here?
What
are we taking you
and
for?
I make them laugh. I see their smile. I see their light, what draws them to have that bright smile, because then I know they can do it for when they get in front of my camera. I'm like, I already seen your smile. I already see the light that you can shine when you're empowered by somebody else to really shine and put that out to the world, so then you can showcase your own brand.
It's interesting because you find, there are some people who would find that niche or find like, I made it. Thank you. I got mine. Peace out. Why to you is it so important? You talk about having a life coach, but then taking that teaching, so to speak, or, and passing it along. Why is that important to continue
because I am self-taught almost for everything. And I wish I had mentors 25 years ago. I wish I had my own book 25 years ago. You do so much yourself. And, I have 3 daughters too. And I'm all about, if I have 10, I'm going to give away 9. I'm all about helping somebody else to help get their encouragement up, empower them to use their talents, because that's where I feel the most fulfilled for me personally. It's not about me. Like, it's about pulling people up. If I'm going to rise, I am bringing people with me. That's how I'm fulfilled with, and that's what brings me joy. So it's not just about me. I don't keep my blinders on. I'm always searching for what's good in people, because there's something amazing in everyone. And I learned that a lot through nursing and hospice, especially.
So I'm getting a phone call. Okay. Not today, roofer guy. But no, I mean, and I'm finding that too, even as, you went through, we talked a little bit about COVID and how that was so isolating and coming out of it, it still feel like I still have those effects of being isolated. It's harder to reach out to people maybe or to do that. Have you found that? And is that, why you're continuing to do these workshops and getting people together?
Because I personally felt it. Mental illness is for real. And I struggle with it a little bit more now than I ever have in my life. There's a lot of generalized anxiety disorder in my family and things like that. And my daughters have it. I have it. And I think COVID really increased that in so many people. Yeah. I don't know if it's the fear of it's going to happen again. Is it the fear if I go all in something else, is that going to happen again? It's like that unknown and how it morphed everybody's life. And everybody is kind of still suffering. I think we all have post-traumatic stress from it.
I think it was like kind of just the pulling the rug out, whether you were anti-mask or pro-mask, or whatever. It took your reality and said, hey, wait a minute. Do you realize we can really get messed up here? And I think it does give you maybe a little bit of that unease. Yeah. That could happen again. And we've never, at least in our generation, you talk about World War II.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all that, everything with 9/11 and all this pretend, but
we
still
lived through all that, like not the war, but but what we experienced in our, you're a little younger than I am, I think, but it's what we.
But 9/11 was that was like the first event in my adult life that I remember being like, whoa, the world is way bigger than I.
And I was a young mom at the time, and I was so scared. I mean, imagine now having your little one. I didn't want to bring more kids in the world. I wanted to bring in my third into the world later, but because you fear everything. But yeah, so it's.
How do you quickly switch topics here? How do you decide? Things are going great. I'm empowering people. I'm feeling good. I have my mission statement. I'm feeling really good about stuff. I'm going to write a book. Like, when did that come about and why?
So this particular book came, I needed more ammunition to give people after I spoke to them. Like if we did headshots, for example, and you get to know me, we get to know each other, and you leave, I wanted to still make an impact on somebody when you left here. Yeah. So I have this as like maybe a jumping off point for people to read it, and then maybe we can collaborate more together. Let's dive into each of the letters together through a workshop or a one-on-one mentoring or coaching class. And that's all new for me too. I'm bringing that into the forefront now. But I do better with small groups and like workshop. I call them boutique styled workshops.
I like that.
Where it's like 8 to 12 people, because I can really hone in on their
and you're not
their
in that
passions.
Sea of three.
I could talk to them, but I can't communicate with them. Exactly. Because that's what I need. For my joy is to understanding what somebody else needs and then really figuring out how to help them, how to figure out what their goals are, their mission, what they're passionate about. Because truly, if they don't even come here knowing what they're passionate about, how can you then come up with a mission statement?
Awesome segue. You talk about passion over fear.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? It's one of your talking points.
I love it. So I heard somebody, I think her name is Lisa Nichols, on a YouTube video or something, where she talks about taking that leap of faith. And I love her analogy where, and it sticks with me. It's one of those things that I would probably brand myself with, one of those things where she goes, you're always, you have a life or something where you're wrapped in sandpaper. And you're going to come to a point in your life where you're going to have fear on one side and passion on the other. And I find so many times in my life, I'm going to squash that fear and take my passion and literally leap. And it's worked. Like I've leaped so many times in my life and shifted and pivoted. P chapter is all about pivoting and knowing that it's okay to pivot and try something new. Because as you're falling, if you think you're falling, I always think, but what if you fly? Like, what if it does work? And if it doesn't, I'm okay with that too. And a lot of people are afraid to take that chance. I'm not. I don't really fear taking that chance.
Well, take a chance. Like one of the personal side notes, because again, we talked about Zeke, and I know you guys, and I didn't know you had a passion for this, but you stopped like before you did it. But you started Z-Craft. Yeah. And was that during the pandemic?
So Zeke was a filmmaker. So
we'll talk about something new, switching passions.
100%. And pivoting.
Describe Z-Craft, just the whole genesis.
So during, I was still doing direct sales, and I did better during COVID than I ever did keeping the photography went down. I couldn't see people. Of course, right. Yeah. But I did direct sales, which was, network marketing. And I'm not here to mock it. I survived on that. making really good money during the pandemic. Zeke shifted. His life was always between food and film. So a lot of people didn't know that he opened restaurants in the past. He helped open Edge. He had a restaurant in Israel.
If you say Zeke
ago.
Zelker, you think
filmmaker.
of his
Exactly. So did he pigeonhole himself into only being just a filmmaker?
Or did he do such a good job?
Because he was going to stay in that for probably the rest of his life. But his passions were always food and film. So during the pandemic, he took 3 months. I mean, it was rough for him, and hit some patches in like, what am I doing? What's my purpose? And I said, what do you love? I'm all about drilling into what is your true passion? He's like, food and film. Well, we can't really do film right now. What about food? So then he started, really, it was his concept. I was always his biggest cheerleader, always his supporter, always there, helping with social media and like the branding of things and things like that. And he started doing home meal delivery and catering in individually wrapped items.
So you're making this stuff at home?
Well, originally, yes, but then quickly,
industrial kitchen.
Yes, and quickly we had to go down to the community kitchen in downtown Easton. And that's where we really started. So we started just delivering food individually packaged. So that's hence the salad jars. Everything was individually packed, which now we know it's COVID proof. So we know that business can work during COVID.
It's just so wild to me. No, I mean this with all respect. You guys are, you're 40s, right?
Yeah. 51. You can turn
I gotta say, but when you describe what you just said, we went to the community kitchen, we started a whole new thing. That's what you kind of think of 22-year-olds. Do you know what I mean?
And I'm glad you're bringing it up because, quite honestly, I live two different worlds. I really do live in 2 different worlds. I kind of explain it where I look to my left, and it's my photography. It's my passion. I can shoot headshots all day long.
Sure.
Who doesn't like a job that somebody's smiling on them all day?
Right.
And it's my bread and butter. It's my life. I love it. I can teach and talk about photography all day long and shoot all day long and have such joy. My book brings me joy. My children bring me joy. Having my classes and workshop, that's my left side. But then I turn to my right and I see Z-Craft. Whoever said go into the food business
during COVID.
They don't know during COVID.
Right.
And even this day and age, though, I mean, there's a lot of people that just don't want to work or don't understand what does a full-time job mean to them anymore. It's very difficult to be in the food industry. So quite honestly, a lot of it's not easy. It's a struggle every day. My husband works 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. And, people call out, or we have to do this, or we're shifting. And people assume that everything is always going so great. And I'm being really honest today because a lot of people just think, because you have multiple locations, things are unbelievable and you're so wealthy.
You're showing the good stuff.
Yes, of course. And we always will. That's our brand. And we pay very close because our quality will never go down.
Right.
I'd rather shut a store down or a cafe down and know I can still produce a quality product with him. But sometimes things are out of our control.
Sure.
Things like floors leaking, things like buildings.
Food costs.
Staffing, payroll. There's so many things that come along with that cause a lot of issues in our life, in our marriage and things like that. So it's not, when I turn to this side of my life, it's difficult, but it's still something we love to do. We're trying to make it work, put it that way. And it's hard in this day and age to run restaurants. And we know it's COVID proof, but is it now saturated? Like, where are we going? So that is still work in progress. And we're still only 2.5, 3 years in. So we do have to give ourselves a little bit of grace.
And I love what we're talking about Z-Craft is that people know, like everyone knows exactly what it is. But can you kind of give the, so for someone who doesn't have any idea.
So Z-Craft, we do catering, home meal delivery. We do the farmers markets at Easton and Emmaus, and we also have a couple of cafes. One's in the south side of Bethlehem. The new one is inside of Capitol Blue at the Promenade in Sauk Valley, and then in Allentown across from Lehigh Valley Hospital on South Cedar Crest. That's where our central kitchen is, with a small cafe attached to it.
Awesome.
So 3 cafes right now. And we are very much focused on healthier eating, locally sourced, community-minded, more elevated comfort food that you can get here in the Valley.
I forget exactly what we got, but the container even that came in was very the word's not quaint, but it's like homemade,
Yeah, and it's like elevated comfort food.
Yeah.
Like you're getting your typical set, but it's different. It's locally sourced. We use Salvaterra's Farms, we use Shoals Orchards for a lot of this stuff. Yeah. So we're doing apples this weekend in our crepes at the farmers market, and we use Shoals apples.
Yeah, I saw Zeke at the Easton bump into him. I'm like, this guy is the best. You should buy all the food from here. Speaking of Zeke, you talk a lot about accountability partners. Before we get into kind of where everyone can find out all of your stuff, I want to, because that is something that you kind of really harp on multiple times. So talk a little bit about that. Why do you feel like that is important for people to have in their
an accountability
journey?
partner? Yeah. So there's a difference between somebody that's a yes ma'am and an accountability partner.
Okay.
You don't want an accountability partner it can be a family member, it can be a good friend, but watch the lines that you're drawing, because that's when you're going to get yes ma'ams. That's going to be like, everything you do is great. I don't want that. I want
and
somebody
you're like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
This
I know I'm doing something wrong. You want somebody that will challenge you, accept your flaws, give it to you raw, and watch you change and grow with you and be your cheerleader. But you also want the roles reversed. You want to work with somebody that you want to be that person too. You can have multiple accountability partners. Like I've got a crew of women. You can, so for different parts of your life.
Right, yeah.
Like I'm not going to go to somebody that's a friend that works in like a women entrepreneur, like say Ashley, my friend Ashley runs ASR Media.
Yep.
So say
Yep.
Ashley. I probably wouldn't go to Ashley
Watch
for
her
anything.
podcast as well.
Yeah. Like one of my good friends. I probably wouldn't go to her as an accountability partner for stuff that I'm dealing with, say with Z-Craft and food cost.
Sure.
It's not her wheelhouse, but I would go to her about creating, my entity around my branding and about my social media with my clients in the photography
That's
world.
really, but I mean, before you go even more on it, that's really interesting. Picking the right accountability.
Correct.
I never thought
it's
about
like you're
that.
interviewing people.
Like you don't want to even put that on somebody who wasn't good for it. Like if I were to do that, that's the wrong choice. I have to make the right choice on an accountability.
So this is a very good example. Say if I wanted to do a podcast, I would go to you and I would say, I don't want you to just dump information on me, because I can probably read that stuff somewhere.
Sure.
But if you were willing, I'm just saying, like, I need somebody that's going to teach me, hold me accountable, and give me actionable items that I'm going to produce. Because if not, it's not going to work for me. I don't want to work. It's like an accountability partner has to be all in. And you do have to interview them and talk to people and say, say on this book journey, I did meet another author that was about the same timing with my book. Their book's nowhere, I don't think they're done the outline yet. It would not have been a good accountability partnership then.
Yeah, it's like how many chapters are none?
None.
Yeah.
So that's not going to work, because it's that back and forth is not working, because you really need somebody that's going to be all in on what their goals are as well. Does that make sense?
Like it's like tough, it's tough love. But you have to apply that tough love appropriately.
Correct.
I know what I'm talking about. But I would be, if I was your accountability partner for a podcast, I would say, remember to bring 2 wires instead of 1. Even though I think this seems to sound like it's working out pretty good. You sound great. I think because that was something, and I've learned something new today as well. Yeah, it does. I guess you could find yourself in a corner if you're picking poor accountability partners or picking people that they're gonna just tell you.
You don't want that. You can have that for certain parts of your life, but if you're looking to grow something to get to your overall goal,
like, be honest with yourself.
Yeah, and you got to hear it too. You got to hear the stuff that's going to come your way too.
So an A to Z guide, Zero Limits, Breaking the Boundaries That Hold You Back by Elaine Zelker. This is not your first book. Can you talk about some of? Can we see these on? I don't know. If they're not, I'll make sure that we get them on here. But can you talk about
links or something too? So I do have a couple journals on Amazon, like more simple journals, like daily gratitude journals that really helped me in my mission. To the chapter on G talks about gratitude, growth, goals, and giving back. And it's a way to hold yourself accountable by using journals. And in some of my journals, you actually can write down what's my daily goal, my weekly goal, who am I affecting today, how many people can I thank today. So again, it's not about me, it's about what I can do for the people that are around me. So those are just basic and a little bit simplified, a little bit more intense journaling on there. My first book was The Handsome Journey, where I actually segued out of nursing in hospice into photography. I did a book on hospice patients where they would hold the one object that represent their life journey. And then I told their story.
Man.
I am going to do it again next year. So 2024, I'm going to bring that back and do a second version. It just didn't, it was supposed to be like a coffee table book and a true photography
I'm just
book.
like in my head thinking about
and you
that.
see their gorgeous hands holding the one object that represents their life. And being a nurse, that's my way of actually connecting with patients again and understand, because everybody has a story to tell. I can go to one nursing home in the Lehigh Valley and I can spend months there and just listening to their stories, because everybody has a story to tell. And we just need to take the time and listen to them, hold their hands, because their hands to me tell more about the journey than looking into their eyes. So that was a pretty intense thing.
Well, again, we're talking about books.
Sorry,
I'm gonna talk. I have one more at the end. So in addition to the previous books and your journals that are available, can they all find them on one website?
Yeah, everything's on Amazon
Okay,
or my website, elainezelker.com. Zero Limits just launched in October of 2023.
You just had your
I just had my book launch a couple days ago. This will also coincide and be the cornerstone of my workshops as well. So I'm holding a workshop, I think on December 2nd here in the studio.
Okay, this will be out by then. So.
Yeah, it's already, you can get that on Amazon right now. So.
Who should read this book? I mean, I know on the back, like if you look at the quotes, I don't know, I'm not good enough. I think that is a sentiment that a lot of people feel. Is it for somebody who is maybe looking for their passion, or?
I think I said it a little while ago. This book is for me 25 years ago when I needed direction. I needed somebody to give me a guide on how to use your purpose and live your best life and make money at it. And live a life that you are not having the golden handcuffs, understanding what you're passionate about and knowing that there's ways and a guide to help you get there. Now, it's not everything. I do talk about my personal side notes with each of the letters.
And that's where my bookmarked the Z-Craft one.
Yeah, but like when there's things like accountability partners, collaborating, breaking bad habits. The chapter on I is proclaiming your own I am statements.
Well, I like that, making your own mission statement. I'd never heard of that before.
Creating your own personal mission statement. That's a whole workshop in itself.
Because you think of that mostly, when you're, hey, what's our company's mission statement?
Yeah,
what's our organization?
But it's different than your own personal one.
Very much. Yes. And that's why I think that is so interesting, because you don't really, I don't know, that's some deep introspection, to do that. So, all right, well, this has been fantastic.
Time flies.
Sad. I know, right? I'm sad that it took me so long to actually get you in here. It's funny, we had planned to do this like prior when COVID, and we had Service Electric and stuff, and we were talking, because I was talking to Zeke a little bit, and then all that went out. So I'm glad that we maybe waited and we were able to do this. So all of these links are going to be available in the show notes, but if you need to hear it again, ElaineZelker.com, or just search Elaine Zelker on Amazon, and you're going to be able to find all this stuff. Again, it's an A to Z guide, Zero Limits, breaking the boundaries that hold you back. Elaine, thank you so much for having us over.
Thank you.
Not going to take this much time to come back to the arts trail. This place is beautiful. So.
And then you can stop at Owl County and get some ice cream. So it's right.
Yeah, what am I doing? I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.